Yes. Just want to express myself through this mechanism. Yes. I realize this here is that one is always trying to escape if he or she is impoverished. So he or she is trying to escape impoverishment. And when he or she is trying to escape impoverishment due to the conditions, the situation, and surrounding circumstances, due to some previous activity that has taken place, it is due to, or it leads to what is called consequences. It has been said that that we are, or many are, the product of their environment. If you look at the word meant, then you look at the word, if it's meant to be, look at the word iron and environment. Then you deal with the word environmental, the mind, the human intellect. Yes, when you look at the word iron, then therefore that is something that is associated with a chemical. And when you deal with it, we need to, that is associated with either that which is balanced or unbalanced, that which is toxic or that which is medicinal. And that also applies to human relations. Yes, human relations. So that's it seems as though that could be the topic of discussion, human relations. Yes. I realize that planet Earth is a sociological structure, whereas the sheep does not interact with the wolf. The sheep sees or says to the wolf in a conversation that we're both human. We're both animals, I should say. And I don't see species. Can the humans say that they are humans, yet do not see race, no color? Yet if they could look at the content of one's character, as Dr. King came to conclude, he came to conclude that because he realized the importance of character, and I realized that character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. Or the natives would say, you need to look at an individual or human as a being. ING in English language means, continuing. Because we are continuing to evolve and grow in our human relations and unto excellence. Yes. Look at the word excellence. It has associated with the word to excel, and anyone is is doing something that he or she likes to do, they will excel at it. Now, people could have the knowledge and excel in that knowledge of being selfish and just taking advantage of others, and some may not like to do it, but then they come to a point where it's that they love to do it. I may be using that word wrong. I mean, using the way that I expressed that wrong, but I can say I'm just expressing myself. Is that some things that you don't enjoy, you don't want to do, you have to do. And when people do things that they have to do, either they can do it and become it leads to being a desperado or an outlaw, for survival. But yet, even though survival is a animalistic term, I think that when it comes to human relations, it should be, to transform. And the reason why I say transform as a scientific point is that you look at the ovum mixed with sperm and so forth and so on, and as that embryo starts to evolve in that shared or type living quarters, that evolve into a species, evolve into a human. I'm not one that understands that language, but I'm just talking about that shared living space, and it becomes very tight, to a point where it becomes inadequate for him or her, and that child has to come out. But there was a nurturing that took place by the mama, and then there was some protection that was taking place, that due to some mercies, by power or a force that is greater than human. And if that's the case, then when it comes to human relations, there is something that is greater inside of humans, in our human relations. And if we know if that be the case, and I use two different approaches to that, I know then if that be the case, I must conclude that there is something greater than what we could imagine and what we can produce when it comes to human relations. And if not, then it becomes a public health crisis when it comes to race, class, gender, and religion, as it associates with our human relations. Yes. And there's something that must be established, that we will relate to one another, not because of our social economic status, irrespectively of one's political affiliations, because we are as the universe is, and as we are associated with this living matter, this living existence that is very vital and very important to the totality of our well-being. And then, yet, when the socio-economic status comes into play due to that is associated in relations, human relations or relationships with what is called race, class, gender, religion. Because I look at a race is not necessarily, I don't apply it to a people. A race is also associated of competition. You're competing for something, right? Yes, and that which we should be competing for in bring about the best of human excellence, of human intelligence, that we realize that we do not abuse one another and abuse and sell each other cheap. Because when you sell another cheap, you sell one who may think he or she has the wherewithal based upon his intellect. He or she sells his humanity short. He sells the intellect of this living matter, selling it cheap or selling it short by treating people and selling them cheap and selling people short. And we do that to ourselves for status, for gain, and even for, yes, acceptance. So yes, if we go to the higher forms of what people call education, you would think that we would go there to eradicate that which sells each other cheap, any information, anything that habit that we may do, and that what we think that will sell the other person cheap. Yes, I'm talking about using his intellects, using their intellect, that which they have learned, to sell another cheap. Yes, and people have the wherewithal of information and technology, that the abuse and the misuse of it. It's like as one brother said, when it comes to armament, we have guided missiles and misguided men. Yes. So we have the wherewithal and the intellect, but do we have the courage, to ask the question? If as someone said too, that if 2/3 of this earth is made of water, but yet we still have to pay for water. And it brings me to what a gentleman named Tesla, what he was trying to create, something where we shouldn't have to pay for this stuff. And the previous statement I made, the question, 2/3 of water, and we have to pay for it, that was Dr. Martin Luther King. Yes. Now, how do we bring out the best of human relations and not selling each other cheap when it comes to one's attitude, his intellect, his character, and his or her humanity? First and foremost, that which must be reconstructed is one's feelings. And what I mean by one's feelings, I mean one's human emotions. Because I realize that society is under social reconstruction and possibly always have been, but I come to conclude where people's feelings have become desensitized, will become numb. Anything that is plaguing the people over and over and over again, and even what people call a lie, and it said enough, it becomes the truth. they become so numb to it that they feel it become desensitized. So it could lead to a underdevelopment of the intellect, and it could lead also to a abbreviated life expectancy where someone acts out violently toward one another because he or she had been feel as though that they have been cut short or sell cheap. They've been their pride and cut off. Yes, when it comes to the human excellence, when it comes to one's intellect, his character, and his humanity and his attitude. Yes. And understanding the desensitization process, because once you show the image of how people see themselves, they will communicate that destruction. So therefore, what comes into play is cognitive dissonance. Yes, you can know that which is correct, but yet you deny that which is right before you. Yes, that which we have at our disposal. How can we prove that? If you look at all of creation, it is at our disposal, or all that which has been created and has been fashioned and has been transformed. Now, I don't necessarily want to get into the fact where someone says that why did something had to be created, why did it not yet have to transform? Because when you transform something, the spirit of it never dies. It just transforms. Yes. And that is a cycle or a recycling. Yes, because it is about the transformation. It is written somewhere in the English writing is that be ye transformed by the renewing on your mind. Always, your mind is always being renewed, because once you complete one task, you pick up another. It can be difficult to do so if one is continued to bog down with gloom and doom or negativity. So we need to create an environment that will cultivate the best of human excellence in a positive manner, in a healthy manner. So that is the attitude that one must have in that regards. Yes. And that, as I said, the feelings have become desensitized. And I realized that it is, in doing so, it must result into restoring what I call social credibility. Yes, because I realized that it is the preservation and the restoration to restore the credibility of human excellence. Yes, and then therefore people can excel in that which they should be about and love to do, in attitude and in their character and in their humanity. Yes. So yes, and I could be missing something, one of the points, but I do that. So, but yeah, then this reconstruction. I remember in I think the 70s, when maybe a derogatory term, and I don't like it, when the brothers from people in society call them hippies or something. But they went to California. They got tired of that mundane lifestyle, going to work, paying bills. They realized it was more to life than that. You know what I'm saying? It's about human relations. You know what I'm saying? And but yet they had to become re-socialized again, and had to deconstruct, I should say, their thinking. Yes. And because there was a attack against the change of their lifestyle, the change of their attitude, the change of their thinking. They didn't necessarily want to be tied down to this going to work, the 9 to 5, this mundane. And, this was mundane activity. So, if they had stores, that which they had, they would give it away. You know what I'm saying? Yes. They didn't put any they would for any financial gain for it. And it is said of a group who says that they're, as a group, as a people, as you call them, we call them a people, that they are a people, and not that I call them anything, and they're trying to be divisive, that they don't profit off each other. You know what I'm saying? It'd be a good thing in a society where that we say we're in business to profit, but in the business not to profit at the expense of selling each other cheap, undervaluing and underdeveloping when it comes to the excellence of human relations. Yes. So under this reconstruction, the next point or next stage, or in this social reconstruction, we said to restore credibility, and now it is the dealing with the feelings. Then we deal with the thought. Every thought begins with a seed, and we know where thought is associated with the way of words, because that which is constant is weight and measure. But in an environment you plant a seed, it must grow. So you look at the potential. So our potential is to achieve our purpose, and our potential to achieve our purpose is that we don't reflect carelessness and carelessness. Being unsympathetic. Yes. Because any people that feel as though that they have been cut off or deprived, they're just responding to, under any form of government, they're just responding to what they call a government that is unsympathetic or apathetic government, if I may use that word. I may be using it wrong, but you get the point there. And the result of that is to readdress social diversity. And we realize moving from a persecuted minority to a privileged majority. In that regards, I realize that that everything should be based on a unity, and some will call it some will call it in Islamic Tawheed. What are we talking about? Unity. We're talking about unity is more powerful than diversity, just as oneness is stronger. Unity is stronger, yes, than diversity. And oneness is stronger than conflict. Even though in conflict, we bring different energies to the table, and those energies need to be synergized. But we are we are attentiveness. We are attentive to that which one brings to the table, and we do that out of respect. So we must respect the uniqueness in us all, because it can rise to a higher level of sensitivity, or a higher level of a synthesis or synthesis. Yes. There's a passage in the English language about a gentleman named Onesimus. Well, as you know, he felt as though he was not useful. But he wanted to be useful. He felt useless, but he wanted to be useful. And poor Paul, found out he was useful, and he was owned by another individual, and then a message was sent to let this individual, free him. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about free, that he could fulfill his purpose to be a useful a person of value. Yes, because people are tied to being economic base for somebody else's social status. Whether we want to adhere to this or not, whoever does not want to, that's on them. If you accept it or reject, it's out here. It's this in our face. That's why my thing is to promote the value of self-worth. I know about feeling chief. I know about being cut short. I know about it. It is embedded. It is embedded in the culture of this society. Who was the who was the pharaoh to this country here in America when it came over? It was George III. He was the pharaoh, and these people came in. They was escaping persecution of King George. I mean George III, whatever you want to call him. Yes. You gotta realize that which constitutes our values. And that which constitutes our values becomes constitutional. Therefore, we have to make amends for any wrongs. Yes. So, then we deal with the thought. Then we deal with the attitude. The attitude comes out. The attitude is very prominent when it comes to human excellence. And that is designed to revise social coherency. To make us coherent, to make us cognitive, to make us clear. Because anyone answer a question, what they are questioning is one's intentions. And when they question one's intentions, because what people want is clarity. But when you're clean, you're clear. And you're clean and you're clear, you are concise. And some will call that in your heart revelation. Yes. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yes. So, when it comes to human relations, then we deal with number 4. Then we deal with what I say is feelings are becoming desensitized, thought, attitude. The attitude dehumanized. I did not say that the first two, that the thoughts are becoming demoralized. They become more demoralizing. And let me back up. When it comes to being so cheap, or feeling so cheap and being devalued, it's like a building. When you condemn a building, it's over with. But yet they said there is, in the English language, there is no condemnation in Christ Jesus. And Christ is a state of development through the process of spiritual consciousness. Yes. And then we deal with the thoughts, attitude dehumanized. Anytime we speak the language of obscurity, or anytime, you speak the language that is, that language, we communicate a language that devalues and destroys and degrade each other, that's dehumanizing. So in this social reconstruction, it is let's go through a resocialization process that we could become, not human in the sense of the term, but the human in the best, bring out the best in our human relations and human relations with one another, not just in term or word, but in action and deeds. Faith without works is dead. So then we deal with the next one, number 4. The feelings desensitized, thought demoralized, attitude dehumanized. Then we deal with the communication. Yes. Communication devitalized. Maybe what we're saying to one another, we're not paying each other any attention. So therefore, we must control the language. And language is merely an aspect of your behavior. Yes. So in doing so, you are replenishing the social continuity. Because that's a constant flow. If we look at the life in which we live, when we go to anything, we go through a evolutionary or an evolving process. Because the science is it's a organism. We are a living organism. That means we're always growing, we're always developing. So we must always grow and develop to be the best at the highest of our intellect, at the best and the highest, the zenith, if I may say, this high synthesis of our human growth and our human development when it comes to human relations, when it comes to human excellence. Yes. Anytime you disrupt the continuity of one's confidence and cooperating with one another, you compromise and jeopardize that which has been depleted must be replenished. Yes. I mean, you compromise and jeopardize that which makes each other whole and bring out the best in our human excellence and in human relations. Yes. And the final frontier deal with social solidarity. When it comes our feelings have become desensitized, our thoughts demoralized, our attitude dehumanized, and the communication devitalized, and our activity communication devitalized, and our activity destabilized. There we go. Now we get with this spirit of apathy. Apathetic. Yes, apathetically. Doing so, it prevents us from reclaiming what is most important is solidarity, but is respect. Because when you have respect, anything that comes at you they will proceed with caution, because they know that you have the solidarity, you have the backing. And I'm not talking about the backing of warfare. I'm not talking about the backing of armament. I'm talking about the backing of your character, of your attitude. You know what I'm saying? The backing of your humanity, your intellect. The backing of that. Because if you can exact the same force that someone else or something else has come to exact on you, they will proceed with caution. Only a coward, and I don't like to use that word. He sees your vulnerability, or a corrupt, contaminated individual. He sees your vulnerability and take advantage of you. So these things, when it comes to human relations, must be challenged. In any society, any form of government, doesn't make no difference what you call it. But what makes a difference is how we regard each other and how we teach each other. That we can teach the world and how we treat each other. That we can show and be a model for the best of human relations.